Tuck and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. We're delighted to have Derek Dooley in the studio, man that is running for U.S. Senate here in the state of Georgia. And as we start talking, how do you want us to? Can we call you Coach?
I know we were asking that.
How do you want to be addressed?
I've been called every name in the book, so
and answered to several of them.
Me, that's right. But yeah, certainly not your typical political candidate for sure. 3-decade career in coaching.
Yeah.
So you can call me whatever you want. I just appreciate y'all having me on.
Oh my gosh, you're always welcome. I'm thinking coach is the way to go.
Well, let me ask you about that. Let's start right there because the history now of college football coaches, especially in the South, and then even into Tom Osborne for years. The name recognition goes a long way, but it's almost a matter of, hey, he grew up around us. He grew up around what this culture is like. He gets our culture. That seems to go really far when it comes to landing some of these political offices.
Well, if you think about what a coach does, I mean, he spends all day, every day really trying to develop, create opportunity and a better impact for young people. I mean, we're in the young people business. And so the beauty of it is it doesn't matter what your race is, what your income level, what your religion, what your politics. None of that mattered. You were just really working hard. You met with groups from all walks of life, trying to build trust, trying to inspire them in a better way. And so you developed a level of trust to have their son come to you, and you had to earn it every day to not only develop them to be a better player, but also to come out of the program as a better person, a better dad, a better father, a better citizen. And so it does translate. It's maybe we don't know politics, but we do know people. And I've been on the ground 28 years with the people, and I feel like I can connect with all groups, and it's one of the reasons I'm running for U.S. Senate.
But I would say, Coach, that's the biggest strength that you have is not being a politician. I think people respond to that. I think when people hear politician, they automatically go, I don't know if they're in it for the right reasons, you know. And look, I think there's a lot of people that go to D.C. probably with good intentions, and money is the most corrupting thing. As a faithful guy, I you know, the good book talks about, you know, the money and power and just the things that corrupt people. And that's the thing that I think you have going that maybe a lot of people running don't, that you're not a politician, that's not what you've done your entire life. And you see, well, you even said it, the reason you jumped into this race is because where is our country headed? You know, and to have somebody that's a coach, not a politician, say, I want to be at the helm, I want to right the ship. That's got to be a feather in your cap, I would think.
Well, I made the comment that if you're happy with the way D.C. politics is going, if you're proud of it, then I'm probably not your guy. I'm going to tell you right now because I'm very disappointed. You know, leadership matters to me. And I was raised around great leadership. I had a great mentor in Nick Saban. I worked for Nick Saban for 9 years, and you learn a lot about leadership. And I've been frustrated over the last, you know, certainly in the previous administration, where I felt like our country was getting driven off a cliff. And I'm looking around wondering where the leadership is. And I do, to your point, I think that too many people go up to D.C., they stay too long, they get too little done, they make too much money, and they really become more concerned about their political careers than serving the people that sent them up there in the first place. And I do think they get intoxicated with the power, and they get more concerned about getting reelected. And what happened is you lose that moral courage to do what's right. A great example of great leadership to me is Governor Kemp here in Georgia. And I look back at COVID and during those tough times, he stood there in the face of a lot of criticism and opened up our state. He opened up our parks. I can't tell you how many people I've met during this process going, thank God for Governor Kemp, he saved my business. And it takes a lot of courage, and that's what leadership is. And I just think we've gotten a little bit disjointed in D.C., and the only way we're going to fix it is to send some different kind of people up there.
Derek Dooley is our guest. He's running for Senate out of the state of Georgia, and I think that's an important factor. Whenever we have talked to so many people that now represent us, what has now changed? It used to just be the political classes you bring up, career attorneys, and again, nothing just wrong with attorneys, but that's typically what was going on. Now it's people that have been pharmacists. It's people that have been coaches. It's people that have owned private industry. These, I believe, is a better representation of what is supposed to be a representative of me, especially in the state of Georgia. where we're voting 57, 58% Republican, and we do not have any sort of representation in the Senate right now for us.
Yeah, and I think what also goes with that is, when you really look back at when our country was founded, it was designed to where people had these long careers and developed experience. And I've been fortunate not just to be a football coach. I was a lawyer. Don't hold that against me. But I actually,
sure, absolutely.
I'm already getting suspicious.
I know it. I went to law school at Georgia, and I started a career here in Atlanta for a firm, Nelson Mullins, Riley, and Scarborough. I only lasted a year and a half before I got called to do the other, but I was also an athletic director while I was a head coach. And, of course, I've been a head coach at 2 places. And so a lot of experience that you can translate. And then it was sort of designed to where you accrue all this experience and then you want to go serve and give back. And that's what I want to do. I want to do it the right way. I'm going up to D.C. not because I want to have some career. I had a great career. I'm going there to get somebody up there that represents Georgia values, what people of Georgia want, and that are going to put the people first.
God, man, that makes my heart beat strong for sure, being born and raised here in Georgia. When I was in the Navy, I served in the United States Navy, and I couldn't wait to get home to Georgia. I would never even change, like I was stationed down in Florida, and they have no sales tax. I wouldn't even change my home residence to be able to avoid the tax. I was like, I'm not giving up my Georgia driver's license. This is where I'm from. This place means something to me. So when you say Georgia values, that hits me square. But I want to ask you about the leadership that your father gave you. Obviously a coworker of ours was his quarterback. Buck Bellew works down the hall, and they won a national championship together. And your dad was so important to so many people in the state. And I know you carry that last name with such pride, and you should. What would your daddy think about you running for office?
I think he would be proud of me. He actually considered running at one point.
Okay.
He was very close to doing it. I look back and I'm glad he didn't, because one of the great joys that I've had over the last 7 weeks is I get in my truck and I drive all over the state and I'm meeting with people, community leaders, business leaders, law enforcement, and it's amazing how many of them have a story where they met my father. And it's always positive. And the investment he gave back to this state for over 50 years, and he did it in a way that it was a level of class, respect for all people. There was no divisiveness and demeaning and judgment of people. He had such a respect for everybody, work ethic. It was incredible what he did, and I'm proud of it. I'm really honored to be fortunate to have a father like that. And I'm hoping I can continue his legacy of service to this state by representing this state in Washington.
Derek Dooley is our guest. He's going to be running for Senate out of the state of Georgia. And I want to follow up with that, because you're right. When people speak about your father to this day, like my wife's a Georgia grad, and it's always, this is my coach, and this is who it, and it doesn't matter if there was a tough season, that stuff goes away. But when you've been a coach, obviously, in the SEC, and things have gotten like hyper intensive, does that help ready you when you go to Washington and know that no matter what you say, oftentimes half the country's going to hate you? Even if you're doing the right things, half the people are going to be saying, that Derek Dooley.
Well, when I was looking into this, a lot of people who didn't really know much about me, they said, you're going to get criticized. And I said, well, have you ever been 5-7 3 years in a row at Tennessee?
and I got some experience here.
And following a mess that Lane Kiffin
That's right. Now, I will tell you, there's no criticism like political. It is very passionate. But certainly dealing with being in the public spotlight for 28 years, you probably develop a little understanding and mettle that most outsiders, I would say, don't have. People who are in business and being very successful, the first time they get crucified publicly, it probably affects them a different way. And listen, it affected me when I was younger. But you learn, you gain experience, you get a lot of humility. And listen, a lot of times I embrace a lot of the criticism because I listen to it. And I say, I always have this message of don't listen to how he's saying, listen to what they're saying. And you can learn a lot. I had actually at Tennessee, Clay Travis, who I think y'all know.
Yeah, he does noon to 3 every day.
So Clay does noon to 3. And Clay at that time was a local guy in Nashville.
Yeah, doing mornings in Nashville from
That's
what I understand.
right, mornings. And, huge Tennessee fan.
Yeah, big time ball.
Well, Clay, I mean, of course, you guys know Clay's pretty opinionated. He's not.
Can't tell.
When he does his radio show in Atlanta, he does it right here when he goes to Braves games.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so we've met him. Great dude.
Huge Braves fan, too.
He's okay. So when I got to Tennessee, everybody said, "You better. This guy's a bad guy. He criticizes you." And I'm just not like that. I give everybody a chance. I find the good in them. And Clay was very critical of me. I mean, he was rough on me. And people would come to me saying, "Why do you even, we can't let this guy around." And I'm like, wait a minute. Because I would read what he said. Well, what he said, it wasn't made up. It wasn't false. He wasn't making things up. He was forming an opinion based on facts. And I'd say, what he's saying really isn't that wrong. I mean, our defense does stink. I mean, he's got a point. What always bothered me with media was when they just made stuff up. And they were saying things.
Anonymous source, here's a quote, whatever it is.
Narratives that weren't true.
Or go on your late night show and make something up completely wrong that you know is wrong, get yourself suspended, and then try to claim First Amendment.
If you're telling me that my offense is 14th in the SEC in rushing, that's just what it is. Like, we've talked about that with Georgia last year. It's like, if you keep it within the bounds, everyone can handle criticism if it's based on factual information.
That's right. And I think that's the way we need to do it. And it's disappointing to me when people just make things up. They know they're not true, and they're doing it just to cause a stir. But that's, you have to sort of stay above the fray. And I'm just not one of those guys that likes to be divisive and to, make fun of people or get angry at people. I just think you listen to it and you move on. And over time, people ultimately want somebody that's going to be a little more statesman-like and have some class and have some consistency in their character.
Derek Dooley is running for Senate from the state of Georgia and will be in the primary. You'll have an opportunity to vote for him. Have you caught back up with Clay Travis now that he's doing politics? And have y'all had a chance to, obviously letting the old Tennessee days go because he's a big Vols fan?
Hold on, Derek, he took a bad loss to Georgia the other weekend. I don't think I've ever heard Clay Travis that sad on a Monday doing a radio program.
It was like Atlanta after the meltdown of the Falcons. It was
like,
that kind of thing.
Well, I will tell you, we've actually become great friends.
See, that's awesome.
And so when I left Tennessee, when I was asked to leave Tennessee, and I started coaching at the Cowboys.
Oh, we'll get into that.
Yeah, and then
Cowboys, man.
Oh, good. Well, a couple of years into the Cowboys, this is when Clay made the decision to go out on his own and
Outkick going, correct?
Start Outkick the coverage. Mm-hmm. It was a novel thing at that time, and we connected, and he wanted to do his first long-form interview. This is really when long-form started coming of age, and I didn't even know. And he wanted to come to Dallas and talk about my 3-year Tennessee experience, really put a bow on the whole and do a deep dive. And so he came, and we sat in my house and did literally a 2-hour show on his phone. I didn't know what he was doing, but I take a lot of pride in the fact every time I see him, I said, his first interview when he went out on his own was me, and of course he's had a remarkable career, we've become good friends, and he's a smart guy, and he's got a legal background. He's very engaged in sports and politics, and and of course he's got strong opinions, which that's kind of what you need in the media, and so
especially to cut through.
I'm actually going to see him Saturday. He's coming to the Bama game.
Okay.
His son's a big Bama fan.
Okay.
So we're going to try to hook up at a tailgate.
Okay, well, that'll be fun.
All right, let me ask you about that, because that's one of the strengths of this radio station. We do a longer form of interview, and we're going to spend the remainder of the hour, and our audience listens for a long time. I think one of the disservices that we have in this country, especially when it comes to cable news, here's 3 minutes, and there's not a whole lot of content, and you don't find out a lot about people. I think when you get that 30 minutes, that 2 hours, it's a chance to really show everybody what you're about, and then lay out your convictions and say, if I'm the guy for you, great. If I'm not, I've made my argument.
I agree. I think one of the hardest things for me in this process is, you get on the radio or TV and you got, I guess, 8 seconds to give an answer to some very complex questions. And so I'm always worried about stepping on some landmine that can just derail your whole campaign, because a lot of times you don't really get a feel for a person and what's really in their heart without sitting down and having some follow-up and not being rushed and not trying to have this perfect soundbite, because a lot of the problems in our world can't be solved in a soundbite. And you really got to get a feel. There's a lot of nuance. And if we're being honest, everybody doesn't have all the answers to everything. But if you know where they stand in their heart, you know they're going to work toward that answer with other people. And so I'm a big fan of long form. I try to. It's just so hard for me. Time-wise, that's the biggest challenge. You have to kind of pick and choose. But there's not many interviews that I haven't listened to where I don't come away with a real good feel for what that person stands for.
That's good news. Derek Dooley is our guest. He's running for U.S. Senate for the state of Georgia here on Extra 106.3. When we come back, we'll take a quick break. I want to know how you balance those hard decisions and those hard discussions, being polite and being stately, because right now in America, it doesn't seem like that's an easy thing to do. We'll talk about that next. Here on Extra 106.3, 8 o'clock hours brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com. Tug and Lawson till 10 on Extra. Tug and Lawson till 10 on the morning Extra and Extra 106.3. Our guest this morning running for a U.S. Senate seat in the state of Georgia, Derek Dooley.
I'm holding off on the sports questions for a few more minutes.
Well,
we still have some more policy things we need to get into.
Specifically the cowboy questions.
Yeah. We'll get into the real stuff later.
Right. They're really important stuff. No,
everybody's yawning right now. Can we get to the meat, the red meat?
I just grew up as a Cowboy fan. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and I was in Dallas, Fort Worth for school. And my parents, I didn't get it at the time. When I was like Pee Wee football, they always made me wear number 12 because Roger Staubach was their guy. And so, I only have one Cowboy question to get into, but not yet. Just one.
I want to ask you about making hard decisions and having hard discussions, because right now in America, it seems like a really difficult thing to do, because you talked about being polite, being a statesman. And I hate to reflect back to a couple weeks ago. Charlie Kirk was a statesman. He was polite. He told people that didn't agree with him to come to the front of the line. And we all obviously know what happened to Charlie is terrible. So how do you balance that, Coach? How do you be that statement? How do you be that polite person when it seems the other side has no interest in being polite or civilized, even in some cases?
Well, I always go back to the line, be the change you want to see in the world. I mean, I think it was Gandhi who said it. And, as a coach, you're working with families and people who, like I said earlier, they come from all walks of life. And many of them don't look like you, think like you, act like you, talk like you. But that doesn't mean there's not some commonality. I don't know if you guys remember the book To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, sure.
That was back before you had Cliff Notes and Chat GPT and all that. You actually had to read the book.
We're old enough where that was like required reading for us.
But the Atticus, I think, what was his name? Let's
Atticus
see.
Finch?
Yeah, Finch, Atticus Finch. But he had this great line, I've never forgotten it. Don't ever judge a man until you walk in his moccasins. Moccasins meaning his shoes. And there's so many people that people are quick to judge, and we've never really walked in their shoes and tried to understand what's causing them to think like this or act like this or talk like this. And so I've always just tried my best to try to understand people. It doesn't mean we're always going to agree, but if I can engage in a way that they respect, then even if we leave in some kind of disagreement, there's usually a level of mutual respect. And I think our country can learn a lot from the locker room. Dan Lanning sort of made that comment one weekend, and it resonated with me. In the locker room, there's a lot of differences. I mean, there's some hard discussions, and people get upset at each other over a lot of things. But there's some common ground. We're part of a team, and we're working together. And ultimately, if there's some mutual respect, that we tend to go forward. And I think sometimes we forget, we think we're on two different teams. I don't see it that way. We're all Americans. We're all on the same team. Maybe we have an offense and a defense that gets a little chippy with each other sometimes, but we can't forget we're all on one team and we need to work together to solve these problems. And it's not easy, but it always starts to me with leadership. And when leadership has that mentality, I think it's going to trickle down to the people.
Derek Dooley is our guest. He's running for Senate right here in the state of Georgia. This particular seat is considered the most vulnerable seat in the country as of now. The amount of money that is coming from Republican PACs and a lot of the backing really looks like if you get through the primary, you're going to have a lot of wind at your back. Has that been kind of the view of how this race is looking?
It's an important seat if you believe, well, I guess for both sides it's an important seat because the Republicans have a 53-47 margin. It's the only seat in America where an actual incumbent you have an opportunity to flip it. And I can just tell you all the things that sort of pulled me out of coaching happened back after 2020. The things that I was seeing in this country that I never thought I would see in my lifetime. I think of some of the lawlessness that was going on, the government overreach and censorship. I think of what happened at the border. I think of the inflation. All those things represents Jon Ossoff because he rubber stamped it. He voted 98% Biden. He's, of course, resisting everything that's going on now. And it's very important that we stay disciplined and focused on his record because he's a great politician. He's going to say a lot of things in Georgia that seem like, it's okay. But if you look at what he does in Washington, it's completely different. And so we can't lose sight of what he represents. But to flip that seat is not going to be easy because they do have a lot of money, and he's a good politician.
Derek Dooley, the guest this morning on the Morning Extra, tugging those until 10. What about the violence that we're seeing, shooting up ICE facilities, killing a political assassination, which we've not seen in years and years and years? Derek, if you win this seat in the U.S. Senate, how do you tackle this? Because there's some people, I know we're all Americans at the end of the day, but some of these people, I mean, they've been going to Cuba to learn how to overthrow the government. There's organizations out in Salt Lake City that we've discussed on this show. And those people don't want to be Americans. They don't want to see America thrive. Those are the people that I'm concerned about. People like Bill Maher that get brought up a lot because he's a classical liberal, believes in freedom of speech, believes in the Constitution. You can have discussions with people like him. You may not agree, but you can have discussions. Some of these people do not love America the way that we love America. How do you tackle that issue?
It's a great question, and I think first of all, there's a couple of layers to it. Number one, there's a lot of bad people out there. And if we know they're bad people and they're committing crimes and they're sowing chaos, we need to get them off the streets. All right, that's number one, and that starts with law and order. I made the comment of when did it become okay that you can walk in your city and it's okay to feel unsafe? It shouldn't be. And so back in law and order and having some accountability for people who do things wrong instead of just keep throwing them out on the street, that's number one. I do think that we have a serious mental health crisis in our country. When I think back to when I was young, I mean, we had institutions and places where people who were really struggling mentally could go to get help. Now, certainly, I'm sure those institutions weren't perfect back then, but they closed them all down. And so now it's when people have serious mental issues, there's places they can go temporarily, but they're not going to get fixed in a month. And so what happens? Well, then they're either out on the streets or they're in jails who are not equipped to handle it. And so we got a real segment of society that we need to address as a government, and that's part of government's job, keeping people safe. And so all the things that we need to do to keep our people safe, we need to do it. Now, look, there's also these awful actors. I mean, let me tell you, I was talking to a Secret Service guy learning about this dark web. You know, you always hear about this dark web.
Very ominous.
But these are the lowest life forms. I mean, it's like Satan in this world. And so the more we can do in our country as government to try to peel back the layers of who's involved in this stuff and getting them contained to not allow some of these events to happen, we have that responsibility to our people.
All right, I'm going to end on my happy sports question, my happy sports moment. So, summer of 2016, I see Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo get smashed in Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
The next morning, Kellen Moore breaks an ankle or a foot or whatever it is in practice, and suddenly in 2016, there's some rookie named Dak Prescott who's quarterbacking the team. That is, considering it ended a Super Bowl, that is my favorite season of football I've ever watched, Coach. From what y'all looked like you were going to be to what it turned into.
28 years of coaching, it was probably one of my most fun seasons. Dak, but you also don't forget we had Zeke Elliott was
had
a rookie.
Zeke as yeah.
And I need to come back and do a 30-minute segment just on that because the stories I have between the transition from Romo to Dak, Zeke Elliott, that Seattle game was probably one of the most. It was a preseason
game in August.
And
yeah,
it was just an incredible story of how the team went. Oh my gosh, these two guys, these are our guys.
And Tug. So they dropped the first game of the year to the Giants, and you're like, oh, it's going to be a long season. Then they win like 10 or 11 straight.
13, I think.
You think, okay, there you go. Yeah, at some point we'll get into this.
I'm going to let you decide in the break if y'all have time to stick around for one more segment because there seems
I'm
like
sure you got else. Like I said, we'll schedule it for later. We'll get this in.
Or if not, however you want to proceed forward, but we got to stop for just a moment. Neil Bortz Report, Fox News Update, and more of the Morning Extra next on Extra 106.3. Thank you for being here. I'll tell you, it was with some wrangling, some twisting the arms, but we've convinced Coach Dooley to stay. Derek Dooley running for U.S. Senate in
this
the
is
state
our
of Georgia.
sports section.
No, exactly right. Because we've talked to politics, we got most of that out of the way, but the sports stuff is the thing that that's what we've been wanting to talk to you about to begin with.
Red meat.
I'll just say this, Coach. To bring up, and for those of you that are just getting here, we got Derek Dooley. He's running for Senate out of Georgia. I brought up my favorite sports season I've ever had in my entire life. And this is one that didn't end in a title, okay? Like again, it wasn't like, 21 Braves. This was 2016 Dallas Cowboys, where Coach Dooley was the wide receivers coach. And that team, to look at your face, we were like, what a season. Because that season looked over in August. The team went up to Seattle. The quarterback gets hurt. The backup quarterback goes down in practice like the next day. And suddenly it's, all right, it's the 4th round pick. It's Dak Prescott. It's your team.
And the rest was history. And we also had Zeke Elliott, who these were our two rookies that year. And you're right, Romo gets hurt. But I'll tell you, Dak goes in, and this was the 3rd preseason game where you played all your starters. So the Legion of Doom, I mean, they were on the road.
They were still in that prime.
It was real. And Dak comes in, and I'll never forget it. The first play he had in that game, it was like 3rd and 6. And we run Y option, and he drops back, and he just rips it for a first down. And I went, wow. Just to be able to come in on your first play and do that. Dak Prescott is one of my all-time favorite quarterbacks. And you talk about one of the best leaders, one of the best teammates, hardest workers, and how much he's improved. And it pains me that he hadn't won a Super Bowl, but I still think but that season was special. We went off and I think we won like 13 straight games. And it was as much fun. We had this youthful energy. It felt like we were in high school. The love between the players, it was.
All right, I'm going to do the Chris Farley moment. So the win in
do you remember when?
Do you remember? So the win in Pittsburgh with the screen pass to Zeke, which most running backs in the NFL these days, it's all right. I picked up 10 or 12 and we punt it. Dude goes like 80 some yards through the Steelers defense, and you're like, okay, that dude's totally different. Totally different.
But it just shows you like the teams that win. There's a combination of so many things. You got to have great players. You got to have great coaching. But there's a level of chemistry.
Oh, sure.
I don't care what level, NFL, college, there has to be a love and commitment between the players that I'm out here playing for each other, and I don't want to let my teammates down. And the teams that have those 3 qualities, they usually end up having an incredible year.
So is it different? The best player you've ever coached, your favorite player you've ever coached, are those 2 different things?
Yeah, I think so, and it's just so hard. 28 years, there's so many guys I love.
Yeah, sure.
And they all have different traits that you love, but it's so fun to be around these great competitors because I learned a lot more from the players than they learned from me. I can tell you.
Wow.
You become you're because they're out there solving the problems. You're giving them tools. You're giving them fundamentals. And there were a lot of times, especially in the NFL, I'm like, "What'd you see there? Why'd you do that?" And they tell you,
and you're blown away.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
Like it's another. The elite players in the NFL, it's just hard to explain to people. And there's such a big drop off. There's so few elite players, and the rest of the league is really just sort of normal, not that great. I shouldn't say that because they're great to play in the NFL, but there is a massive divide between sort of that top section of player and the rest of the NFL. And the top section of the guys that go on and on. The other crowd, they rotate every 3 years, and you're getting new talent in, and you're always trying to find these mismatches, because when you get a mismatch in the NFL between an elite player and an average player, it's game over.
I always talk about that, and Derek Dooley is our guest right here in studio. He's running for Senate in the state of Georgia. Every team is looking for that blue chip, and there's only maybe like 5 or 6 per team. That's why they make most of the salary cap, and everybody else gets their 3 or 4 year cycle. Let me ask you about another blue chip. As far as Coach Saban, I heard him say a great line the other day, and it just stuck out to me. He said, "We don't practice to get it right. We practice so we don't get it wrong." And those are two different things. I never thought about that in terms of you work at something to the point where it becomes so second nature on game day. You know, how is that as a coach just trying to drill it into the guys? It's not about trying to accomplish this. It's trying to make sure that you're foolproof. You're going to accomplish it.
Yeah, well, he was, look, there's nobody even in the same level. However, I shouldn't say that because Kirby,
Sure.
I worked with Kirby at both LSU and Miami. And you think of the number of coaches that have been through Nick Saban. I was with him for 9 years. The average coach lifespan's about 1.5 years, because it was a tough environment. Kirby went 10 or so. I think Kirby's the only guy truly who has as almost identical qualities as Nick did in coaching. It's why he's had the success he's had. But it is a relentlessness every day of never getting complacent. And as a leader, you're pushing that sort of energy and accountability and expectation on your players like no other program. And it just becomes a habit. I mean, it becomes so ingrained in your program, it's a habit. And you don't even realize what you're doing that's unique, but it's very different from most of the other programs around the country.
Let me follow up on that, because you say how it has to be a habit, it has to be something you do every day. With that transfer portal and how things are structured now, I think that really points that coaches have to, you're recruiting and you're having to work every single day to maintain that team. And if you're not interested in that, I think that's why we're starting to lose some good coaches out of college football.
Yeah, I think so. But I think the one thing that Kirby has done so well, and I'm going to keep harping on this, is there's a certain way that program's run, and he doesn't mask it. You don't come in when he's recruiting you and he's not telling you how great things are and how fun it is. And I mean, it's tough.
Get ready to work.
And it's demanding, and it's not for everybody. And so they're looking for the kind of guys that fits their program. Now, every program doesn't have that luxury. You're trying to find the best players. And look, I've been in programs where, hey, you got to get the best players, and then you hope you can bring him and assimilate him into the culture. And sometimes it doesn't work. And so that's the challenge right now. And that's a whole nother show, is how we fix college football.
Well, that's exactly where I was going with this. I mean, Nick Saban pretty much stepped away from college football. Maybe it was time. Maybe he was ready to do it anyway. But there was a bit of the NIL and all the changes in college football. That's my question to you, because I am a college football fan. I love it. I adore it. The traditions, playing for the name of the name on the front of your jersey, not the one on the back of your jersey. I mean, Congress has talked about NIL. And I get caught in the middle, Coach, as we talk to Derek Dooley here on the Morning Extra, because I think there's nothing more American than earning money off of your name. Mm-hmm. There's nothing more American than that. But then there is, like, what does that do long term to this game that we love and that we want to be relatively pure? Well, we just got to accept that's the way it is now. It's not, and college football players always could earn money. People forget this. They had, back in the old days, you got summer jobs and you worked and you made money.
And so this is just a way to make money in a different way. But there's a lot of things that need to happen to fix our sport, because there's so many buckets that, and the starting point is, I think the NCAA's probably spent $500 million in legal fees in the last 10 years. And so there's got to be some protection from all these lawsuits. You create a rule, and then all of a sudden the schools sue or the players sue. And so there's got to be, when you're going to run a sports program or a sports league, you got to have rules that you can enforce. And so that's one area. And I think the transfer portal, to me, has been the bigger issue than NIL, than the money. Because when you combine the leverage of I can leave any time and start, using that to get more and more money, you talk about teaching a message to the kids that are just totally contrary to what athletics does. To me, that's the bigger issue. And I think college athletics has got to get their arms around the transfer portal, and they're going to. We can't have this deal where you're just moving all the time. There's got to be some consequence,
some boundaries.
And I think we can't forget this, guys. We talk about football, but college athletics is a special. It does so much for young people.
My son's a college athlete right now.
We can't allow this small segment of players who have earned the right to get a lot of money to impact the quality of sports and all the other non-revenue sports. So we got to protect the women's sports. We got to protect the non-revenue sports. We can't pay these guys at the expense of the other sports. So there's a lot of buckets where I think the government can help, and we just got to all accept and embrace that we have this uniquely American thing, college athletics, that's so good for young people. And we got to find solutions together. I don't know why this becomes Republican, Democrat. It drives me nuts that we can't sit down and say, can we all agree? College athletics is so great for our country, great for our people, great for our young people, what it does for them. And so let's get together and make sure we protect it.
And Derek Dooley is our guest. He'll be running for Senate out of the state of Georgia. And I think that's the complicated part for me, because I love college sports. My wife was a college athlete. I was a college athlete. Obviously, getting a chance to talk with Tug's son, college athlete. There's such a value to it to start with. But at the same time, it's not a sport that's collectively bargained. And so it feels like anything you try to institute is then hurting the idea of capitalism. And so I'm always kind of in this balancing act of saying a young man should be able to go get, or a young woman should be able to go get whatever their value is. I think about a guy like Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia. He's looking to sue the NCAA for like a 7th and an 8th year.
It's ridiculous.
It's wild. And he's looking at it as, and the argument I think largely has been, is this professor can be at here for 30 years. Why can't I be here for 30 years? But again, it's just because we don't have hard and fast rules for this stuff.
That's right. But you got to think about this. Every year, Diego, what is his name? Pavia.
Diego Pavia.
All right, excuse me, Pavia.
Hey, he's made Vanderbilt relevant. So I'm like,
right.
yeah.
But I want you to think about this. Every year he stays in college outside of the normal 5-year cycle, he's taken an opportunity away from another kid in high school.
100%.
All right, and that's not right.
And I've seen that play out a bunch of times.
We have a cycle in college. It's a developmental program for young people. Think about you. Young people have a hole in their head when they're about 16 to 22. All of our kids, my kids, everybody's kids do.
I'm going through it right now.
Yeah, it's tough. So they need structure, all right? They need discipline. They need work ethic, teammate. They need to get taught
those have
these
been
values.
bad words up until recently.
I know it. But this is why it's so important. And so we can't have these guys changing all the rules. We have to understand that this is an important institution, and we're going to have rules because the pros outweigh the cons. All right, I understand his argument, but his argument to me is not so compelling that it's worth taking away an opportunity from another young person, and that's the balancing act you have to do.
You did mention 2020 being such a pivotal moment for you, and I'm right there with Tug. It got Tug moving away from still doing country radio, but seeing that there was something more that he should be doing. I was doing the same thing in sports radio, and I think about a lot of what happened in the NCAAs. You created the environment with Super Sixes, where suddenly people had that extra year of eligibility, and what we didn't see until the other end of it was a lot of high school athletes looking around going, I'm supposed to get it into a university. And I guess that's kind of the process. As much as we want to say, hey, this person should have another opportunity, well, there's somebody who's 17 or 18. This might be their only opportunity.
Everything in life is a trade-off. And so when we make decisions as leaders and when we make decisions as government, we always got to say, what's the trade-off? And as long as we're comfortable with the trade-off, then we should do it. But I think a lot of times decisions get made on emotion. We don't talk through them. All right, I used to get frustrated as a coach because these administrators would make decisions, and this is a lot of what happened in NIL. They made all these decisions without talking to coaches, and coaches are the masters at getting around rules and bending them. And I would have said, look, if you do that, here's what's going to happen.
Here's the repercussions.
Here's what's going to happen. But they don't think through it because they're not in the weeds with coaches. And so it's very important as a decision maker, as a leader, that you always understand the trade-off, and then you're comfortable with what that trade-off is when you're making your policy.
Man, I tell you, we could talk to you all day long, Coach. There's so much.
I'll be back.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope it won't be the last time.
Can I ask one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
Did Dez catch it?
He absolutely caught it.
He caught it, I'm telling you. He caught it, America.
I don't even want to go into the offseason. He absolutely caught it.
Here in Canada, our board op's like, see, I told you, I've been telling you forever.
I've been telling you forever, he got it.
And if you don't know what that is, look it up. You should, because if you're a sports fan at all. Goodness. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you very much.
But talking to our audience, letting them know about you and who you are. If they want to find out more, you want to hit your socials, how they can learn more about you?
DooleyForGeorgia.com. And, of course, we want your vote. We need your money. That's the most important thing to remember. And so if you believe in sort of what I'm representing, what I'm saying, I hope you'll support us. And more than anything, I hope you'll pass the word around to your friends, to your family, to give this guy a chance. I know he's a football coach by trade, but my heart's in the right place for the Georgia people. And I just have a great belief in this country. And I just think people want to be inspired, and they want to believe in the good of this country, and that's what I represent. I don't buy into all this negativity. We got some bad people out of there.
Sure.
We got to contain them, but I think the bulk of our people, when I walk around the streets and I go into stores and I meet people, I don't feel the hate that you try to see in this echo chamber of social media.
Which you hit and talked about locker rooms being that way, and my son's experiencing that as a college athlete, and I know Los did too. If you want good, you can find it. You have to turn off the news. You have to get off social media. You have to go outside and feel the grass, breathe the air, pet a dog. I mean, if you want to find where real people are, that's how you do it. Social media is make-believe. Are there benefits to social media? Sure. But if your life is there, you're in the wrong place, man. Get yourself to church. Find you a place to be positive. Coach, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, guys.
You're always welcome to come here and talk.
And by the
to
way,
the people that listen to this station.
Go Dogs.
Circle.
There
we
you
go,
go,
buddy.
Big game.
But I can tell you, boy, that
Coach is going to be there.
If you're trying to win my vote,
Coach is there Saturday.
that's the way you start. Thank you, Coach. We appreciate it.